What happens when family treats you like a burden instead of a treasure? This 72-year-old woman's story will change how you see respect, dignity, and the power of knowing your worth. Watch until the end. Her transformation is incredible. The morning light filters through my bedroom curtains at exactly 6:15, just like it has for 40 years. 72 years of rising early to grade papers and nurture young minds has carved this rhythm into my bones deeper than any arthritis ever could. I sit on the edge of my bed, gathering strength for movements that used to be simple. My right hip protests first, then my left knee joins the chorus. But I push through, one step at a time, just like I taught my students to tackle difficult math problems. My walking stick waits by the nightstand. I bought it at a Vermont craft fair 5 years ago when my doctor suggested extra stability. The carved maple handle fits my palm perfectly, worn smooth by countless mornings like this one. The bathroom mirror reflects truth I am still accepting. Ruth Elizabeth Moreland, retired mathematics teacher, 72 years old, silver hair in the same practical bun I have worn for decades. My face is mapped with lines, laugh lines from thousands of shared jokes with students, worry lines from staying up late, helping struggling kids, and newer lines that speak of loneliness. I dress simply in a cotton dress and sensible shoes. Teaching for 45 years taught me that practical beats pretty. Today, I add my grandmother's pearl earrings. They make me feel more like the woman who once commanded respect from principals, parents, and challenging teenagers. My house in Riverside, Connecticut sits on a quiet street lined with maples. I chose this place when I retired, thinking it would be perfect for family visits, close enough to my son David in New York, but far enough to maintain independence. The neighborhood is full of young families now, people who wave politely but don't know the woman who once taught calculus to future doctors and engineers. The kitchen walls display memories, photos of former students at graduations, wedding invitations from kids I taught 20 years ago. Thank you cards that arrived decades after report cards were filed. Family photos are mixed in. David as a little boy, his daughter Rachel as a baby, my great-grandson Tommy at various ages. But the family photos have grown sparse in recent years. Coffee and toast. The same breakfast I have eaten for more years than most people have been alive. I sit by the window watching Mrs. Henderson tend her garden. She is probably 50, young enough to bend without planning each movement. I remember when that was me. The mailman arrives at 9:30. Among bills and advertisements is a thick envelope from Riverside Community College. My heart flutters with excitement. Inside is a letter from Professor Jennifer Walsh, head of their mathematics department. Dear Mrs. Moreland, it begins. We would be honored to have you speak at our upcoming symposium on innovative teaching methods. Your approach to making advanced mathematics accessible to struggling students has influenced an entire generation of educators. They want me to discuss my methods for teaching calculus to students who had been written off by other teachers. My Ruth method, they call it, though I always thought of it as simply caring enough to find what worked for each child. The phone rings. David's name appears on caller ID, and I feel that familiar mixture of hope and wariness his calls always bring. Hi, Mom. His voice carries that particular tone he uses with me, like he is talking to someone who might not understand. Are you staying cool in this heat? I am fine, David. The air conditioning works perfectly. I settle into my favorite chair, the one with arms high enough to help me stand. Good, listen. I am calling about Rachel's barbecue this Saturday. You remember my daughter's family get-together. Rachel is my granddaughter. David's daughter from his first marriage. She is a successful marketing executive who inherited her father's talent for making me feel like an obligation rather than family. I remember, though she didn't invite me directly. Of course she wants you there, Mom. She is just busy. Can I pick you up around 2:30? I glance at the college invitation. Actually, I received an invitation today to speak at a symposium. They want me to discuss my teaching methods. A symposium? David's tone makes it sound like I would announce plans to join the circus. Mom, are you sure you are up for that? You are not as young as you used to be. My mind is as sharp as ever, David. They specifically requested me because of my expertise. If you say so, but about Saturday, Rachel really wants you there. Tommy's been asking about his great-grandma. I doubt 5-year-old Tommy thinks about me much, given how infrequently we see each other. But I agree to attend. As we both know, I will. Great. I will be there at 2:30. And Mom, maybe don't lecture everyone about math at the party. These are normal people, not academics. The comment stings. To David, my 45-year career shaping young minds is reduced to lecturing about math, as if the knowledge that made me Teacher of the Year 3 times running is somehow embarrassing. After he hangs up, I return to the college invitation. Reading it brings back memories of my classroom. My second home for nearly 5 decades. I remember Sarah Chen, who came to me convinced she was too stupid for math and graduated with a full scholarship to study engineering. Marcus Williams, who everyone assumed would drop out but became an engineer and named his daughter Ruth. These memories warm me more than any family gathering ever has. The week passes slowly. I prepare for the symposium, organizing my thoughts about teaching methods. The excitement of sharing my work with a new generation of educators gives me energy I haven't felt in months. David calls twice with reminders about the barbecue and subtle suggestions about my behavior. Remember to bring a sweater, as if I have forgotten how to dress myself. Maybe take your medication early so you don't get tired, as if I haven't managed my own health for 7 decades. Saturday arrives with oppressive July heat. I choose a light blue sundress and comfortable sandals. Around my neck, I wear the small gold locket containing my late husband Robert's picture. He always said I was most beautiful when passionate about teaching. David arrives punctually, dressed in expensive casual clothes. His financial success has given him everything he wanted, except patience for his mother's interests. Ready, Mom? You look nice. Very teacherly. I am not sure if that is a compliment, but I take it as one. The drive to Rachel's house takes 30 minutes. David fills the silence with complaints about work and traffic, while I listen politely. Rachel and her husband Brad live in perfect suburban development where every house looks designed by the same architect. 2. Car garage, manicured lawn, children's toys artfully scattered around a backyard playground. The American dream as interpreted by people born into privilege. Cars fill the driveway when we arrive. David helps me out, his hand under my elbow more from habit than concern. Try not to tire yourself out, he warns. And remember, these people aren't interested in education theory. Rachel greets us at the front door with an embrace that doesn't quite make contact. She is 42, perfectly put together in that way, requiring significant time and money. Her smile is bright and trained through years of client presentations. Grandma Ruth, I am so glad you could make it. Everyone's out back. I follow her through the house, noticing none of the mantelpiece photos include me. Her husband's parents feature prominently, along with professional shots of Tommy. But the woman who helped raise Rachel during her parents' difficult divorce is nowhere to be seen. The backyard is impressive, designed for entertaining. A large deck extends from the house with outdoor furniture and professional-grade grill. Below, the lawn stretches toward a sparkling swimming pool surrounded by lounge chairs. 24 people are scattered around, drinks in hand, conversations flowing. I recognize a few faces, but most are strangers whose lives intersect with my granddaughter's world in ways mine no longer does. I feel immediately out of place, like a black and white photograph in a room full of color. Let me get you something to drink, David offers. Already scanning the crowd. Iced tea. Something soft that will not upset your stomach. Iced tea would be lovely, I reply, though his assumptions about my dietary limitations are unfounded. Finding a seat requires navigating steep deck stairs. I grip the railing tightly, taking each step slowly. My walking stick helps, but I still feel unsteady. Several guests notice my careful descent, but no one offers assistance. Instead, I catch amused glances, as if my age is entertaining. I settle into a cushioned chair near the pool, grateful to rest my aching hip. Tommy, my great-grandson, plays with other children in the shallow end. At 5, he has developed his mother's social confidence. He waves briefly when he notices me watching, but doesn't approach. "How are you holding up, Grandma?" Rachel appears beside my chair, her voice carrying that particular tone people use with the elderly, slightly louder than necessary. "I am doing well, dear. Tommy seems to be enjoying the pool." "Oh. He loves it. He is like a little fish." Rachel glances around, clearly multitasking our conversation with hostess duties. "Dad says you are thinking about doing some teaching thing at the college. They have invited me to speak at a symposium about educational methods." "I am quite honored," Rachel nods with polite disinterest. "That is nice. I should check on the appetizers." She disappears, leaving me alone with my observations. I watch the social rhythms, feeling like an anthropologist studying a foreign culture. These people are kind enough, but our worlds barely overlap. They discuss house renovations, while I think about derivative functions and the joy of watching students discover their capabilities. David eventually joins me, carrying a beer and wearing the expression of a man fulfilling obligations. "How are you doing, Mom?" "Not too hot. I spent 45 years in on-air conditioned classrooms, David. I can handle a Connecticut afternoon." He ignores my sarcasm. "Listen, I was talking to Rachel about your living situation. We are concerned about you being alone in that house." Familiar dread settles in my stomach. "Concerned how?" "You are not getting younger. What if you fall? What if you have a medical emergency?" Rachel found this great assisted living place in Westchester. The suggestion hits like a physical blow. "I am perfectly capable of living independently, David. I have my emergency system, neighbors who check on me, and my doctor says I am in excellent health for my age." "For your age, exactly. That is what we are worried about." David's voice takes on that patient tone he probably uses with difficult clients. "We just want you to be safe and cared for, safe and managed." "You mean," the bitterness in my voice surprises me, "put away somewhere convenient, where you don't have to worry about your elderly mother embarrassing you?" "That is not fair, Mom. We are thinking about your well-being." "My well-being is fine in my own home, surrounded by my own things, living my own life. I am not ready to be warehoused yet." David's jaw tightens with familiar frustration. "You are being dramatic again." "It is not warehousing. It is professional care." Our conversation is interrupted by commotion from the pool. Tommy has climbed out and is running around the deck, dripping wet and giggling. His laughter is infectious, and several adults turn to watch. "Tommy, be careful," Rachel calls out. "You are getting everyone wet." I smile at his joy, remembering David at that age. For a moment, the years fall away, and I see my son's carefree childhood, before life convinced him that spontaneity was dangerous. "He is having such fun," I comment. "Yeah, well, Rachel needs to teach him some pool etiquette. He cannot just run around soaking everyone." The critical edge in David's voice makes me sad. When did my son become someone who saw a child's laughter as a problem, rather than a moment to be enjoyed? The afternoon wears on, and I begin feeling familiar exhaustion from trying to fit into spaces where I don't belong. My hip aches from the unfamiliar chair. My hearing aids struggle with background noise and multiple conversations. The heat feels oppressive. I am considering asking David to take me home early when Brad announces it is time for entertainment. He has set up speakers near the pool and started playing music. Several younger adults move toward the deck area, drinks in hand. "All right, everyone," Brad calls out enthusiastically. "Time for some pool games. Who is ready to get wet?" There is laughter and mock protests. Someone mentions they didn't bring swimsuits, but Brad waves off the concern. "That is what makes it fun. Come on, Don't be wimps. I watch with detached interest, assuming this is for the younger generation. But then David appears beside my chair, grinning in a way that makes me nervous. Come on, Mom. Time to join the fun. I don't think so, dear. I am quite comfortable watching. Nonsense. David's voice is louder now, carrying across the party. Everyone participates at Rachel's barbecues. No exceptions. Several people turn to look at us. I feel their attention, like an unwelcome spotlight. David, really, I would prefer to just sit here, Mom. You are always so serious. When was the last time you did something spontaneous? David reaches for my arm, but I pull back. I am 72 years old. Spontaneity isn't really my priority, exactly why you need this. David's voice has that jovial tone that always precedes his worst decisions. Time to loosen up. Before I can react, I feel his hands on my shoulders. For a moment, I think he is helping me adjust my position. But then he is lifting, pushing, and suddenly I am being propelled forward faster than my arthritis. Stiffened legs can manage. David, what are you? The words are cut off as I feel myself falling forward, my walking stick clattering away. The world tilts sickeningly, and then I am hitting the water with a shock that drives all air from my lungs. The pool water is shockingly cold. I sink beneath the surface, my sundress billowing around me like a parachute, weighing me down. Panic floods my system as I struggle to orient myself, to find which way is up. My arthritis makes every movement painful and clumsy. Chlorinated water stings my eyes and fills my nose. I manage to break the surface, gasping and choking. My hearing aids emit sharp feedback squeals before going silent, cutting off most sound from the world. Through my water, blurred vision, I can see faces around the pool. They are laughing. David stands at the edge where he pushed me, holding my walking stick and grinning broadly. "Cool off, Mom," he shouts, and the crowd erupts in laughter. I try to swim toward the edge, but my waterlogged dress tangles around my legs. My arthritic joints scream in protest. The cold water has seized my muscles, making coordination nearly impossible. I cannot get enough purchase on the pool's edge to pull myself out. "Help," I try to say, but water fills my mouth. The word comes out as a weak croak that no one seems to hear. The laughter continues. Someone is recording this on their phone. There are comments floating through the air, distorted by my damaged hearing aids. Like a mermaid, sink or swim, Grandma's going for a dip. The humiliation burns worse than chlorine in my throat. I, Ruth Moreland, who spent decades earning respect from students, parents, and colleagues, am floundering in a swimming pool like a circus act for people who see me as nothing more than an amusing old woman. Suddenly, Tommy is there. Without hesitation, the 5-year-old jumps into the pool and dog paddles over to me. "Great Grandma Ruth, I will help you." His small hands grab my arm, and though he cannot actually pull me out, his presence gives me something to hold on to. "Thank you, sweetheart," I whisper. It is Brad who finally realizes this isn't funny anymore. He jumps into the pool fully clothed and helps me to the shallow end where I can stand. The water comes up to my chest, and I lean heavily against the pool wall, shaking from cold and shock and humiliation. "Jesus, David," Brad mutters, as he helps me toward the steps. "What the hell were you thinking?" The laughter dies down, replaced by awkward murmurs. David approaches with a beach towel, his expression shifting from amusement to defensive irritation. "It was just a joke, Mom. Everyone was having fun. You are always so uptight. I thought this might loosen you up." I cannot speak. My throat is raw from chlorinated water. My joints are screaming, and my pride lies in tatters. Water drips from my silver hair, down my face, from my soggy dress hem. The practical sundress that seemed appropriate this morning now clings to my thin frame, revealing the frailty I worked so hard to disguise. My grandmother's pearl earrings are gone, lost somewhere in the pool depths. Just like my dignity, Grandma. "Let's get you dried off," Rachel says, appearing with more towels. Her voice carries embarrassment, though whether for me or the situation, I cannot tell. I have some clothes that might fit you. I want to go home. My voice sounds strange to my own ears, distorted by water damage to my hearing aids now. But we haven't had cake yet. Rachel protests weakly. And Tommy wanted to show you his new bike. I want to go home. I repeat the words more firmly, though standing upright requires tremendous effort. There is a moment of uncomfortable silence. I can feel everyone's eyes on me. The dripping, elderly woman who has ruined the party's fun by failing to appreciate a harmless joke. In their expressions, I see embarrassment, pity, and worst of all, confirmation that I am exactly what David has always seen me as, a burden. I will drive you, Tommy's young voice pipes up. He is still in the pool, treading water beside me. I know how to drive. Daddy lets me sit on his lap sometimes. Despite everything, I almost smile at his innocent offer. This child has shown more genuine concern for my well-being than my own son. Thank you, Tommy. That is very sweet. But your daddy will take me home. David approaches reluctantly, clearly unhappy about leaving early. Mom, you are being overdramatic again. It was just a little water. You could have just laughed it off like everyone else. I don't respond. I don't trust my voice. Brad helps me up the pool steps, and I stand dripping on the deck, feeling every one of my 72 years plus several more. As we reach David's car, I hear Tommy calling from the pool. Bye, great-grandma Ruth. I love you. It is the first time anyone has said those words to me in months. They bring tears to my eyes, mixing with pool water still dripping from my hair. The drive home passes in tense silence. David has turned the air conditioning high, which makes my wet clothes feel like ice. I shiver uncontrollably, my arthritic joints stiffening in the cold. Could you turn down the air conditioning? I ask through chattering teeth. It is 90 degrees outside. Mom, you will drive faster with the AC on. I am soaking wet and 72 years old. I am freezing. David sighs dramatically, but adjusts the temperature slightly. Look, I am sorry, the joke went over badly. But honestly, you made a much bigger deal out of it than necessary. Everyone was just trying to include you in the fun. I turn to stare at him, though he keeps his eyes on the road. You pushed your 72-year-old mother into a swimming pool, David. I could have hit my head. I could have drowned. I cannot swim well anymore. It is 4 feet deep, Mom. You couldn't drown if you tried. I couldn't get out on my own. A 5-year-old had to help me because no one else realized I was in trouble. You weren't in trouble. You were just being dramatic. The casual dismissal of my fear and pain is like another push into the pool. My hearing aids are ruined. They cost $2,000. I will buy you new ones. It is not like it is a big deal. It is a big deal, David. To me, those hearing aids let me participate in conversations, follow television shows, answer the phone. Without them, I am isolated from the world. You are making this sound like I committed some kind of crime. It was a harmless prank, Mom. The kind of thing families do, is it? Is humiliating elderly family members something normal families do? God, you are exhausting sometimes. Always turning everything into a lecture about respect and dignity. It was supposed to be fun. Fun for whom? Certainly not for me. I was terrified, David. Humiliated. In pain. Where exactly was the fun in that? We pull into my driveway, and David doesn't turn off the engine. The message is clear. He is not coming in. Can you make it inside okay? He asks, though his tone suggests he is already mentally moving on. As always, I reply, opening the car door. I get out slowly, my wet clothes heavy and uncomfortable. David doesn't wait for me to reach the front door before backing out. I stand on my doorstep, dripping and shivering, watching his taillights disappear. Inside my house, I peel off the soggy sundress and step into a hot shower. The warm water helps, but cannot wash away the memory of everyone laughing while I struggled in the pool. Cannot erase the sight of my own son grinning as he pushed me into water. I couldn't escape from alone. I spend the next 3 days in bed with what my doctor would call a respiratory infection, but which I know is the result of being soaked in chlorinated water while my immune system was compromised by stress and humiliation. Every joint aches worse than it has in years. The cold water and struggle to get out have aggravated my arthritis, to the point where simple movements bring tears. My hearing aids are indeed ruined. The world has become muffled and distant, as if I am living inside a glass bubble. I can hear loud noises, but conversations are impossible. The isolation this creates is profound. I catch myself talking out loud just to hear something, even if it is my own voice distorted by hearing loss. On Wednesday, Tommy calls. His small voice is just loud enough for me to make out. "Great, Grandma Ruth. Are you okay?" Mommy said. "You got sick after the party." "I am getting better, sweetheart. Thank you for asking." "I am sorry Daddy pushed you in the pool. That wasn't nice." Out of the mouths of babes, a 5-year-old understands what my son refuses to acknowledge. "Thank you, Tommy. You were very brave to help me. I love you." "Great, Grandma Ruth. I love you too, sweetheart." It is the only call I receive all week. David doesn't check on me. Rachel doesn't call to see how I am recovering. I realize that in their minds, I am the one who caused problems by not taking a joke well enough. By Friday, I need new hearing aids immediately, regardless of cost. I call my audiologist and arrange an emergency appointment. The replacement devices will cost $2,500. Inflation and improved technology have driven the price up. Dr. Martinez examines the water. Damaged hearing aids with concern. "Mrs. Moreland, these are completely destroyed." "What happened?" "I fell into a swimming pool," I say, which is technically true if incomplete. "That must have been frightening." Pool accidents can be very serious for people our age. "Yes, I agree quietly. Very serious." The new hearing aids will not be ready for a week, so I continue living in my bubble of silence. It gives me time to think about how my own son could have thought humiliating me was acceptable behavior. I remember David as a little boy, sensitive and thoughtful. When he was 8, he spent his allowance on Mother's Day flowers for me. When I was sick with flu one winter, he made me construction paper get well cards every day until I recovered. Where did that caring child go? When did he become someone who sees my dignity as expendable for a laugh? Sunday arrives with an invitation in my mailbox. The return address shows Riverside Community College, and inside is a formal request for my participation in their upcoming symposium. The letter reiterates their excitement about having me speak and includes a detailed schedule. Reading about the symposium reminds me that there are still people who value my knowledge and experience. Students and teachers who see Ruth Moreland as someone worth listening to, not just an old woman to be managed and occasionally humiliated for entertainment. I sit down at my computer and begin composing my presentation. Working on the material energizes me in a way I haven't felt since the pool incident. This is who I really am. Not David's embarrassing mother or Rachel's obligation, but an educator with 45 years of experience helping students discover their potential. The phone rings Monday morning. David's name appears on caller ID, and for a moment, I consider not answering. "Hi, Mom." His voice sounds normal, as if nothing happened. "How are you feeling?" "Better," I answer carefully. "Good, Rachel wanted me to check on you. She felt bad about the party ending on such a dramatic note." Dramatic, there is that word again. I am recovering from the respiratory infection I developed after being pushed into the pool. "Come on, Mom. It wasn't that bad. You were in the water for like 2 minutes, long enough to damage my hearing aids and trigger a week-long illness." David sighs with audible frustration. "Look, I said I would pay for new hearing aids. What more do you want?" An acknowledgement that what you did was wrong would be a start. Wrong, it was a joke. Mom, families tease each other. That is what we do. Families also respect each other, care for each other, protect each other from harm. Oh, please, harm. You got a little wet. You are acting like I tried to murder you. I close my eyes, feeling the futility of this conversation settle over me like a heavy blanket. I have to go, David. I have an appointment. What kind of appointment? The college symposium I mentioned. I am presenting on Thursday. Mom, are you sure that is a good idea? You have been sick, and public speaking can be exhausting. Teaching was my career for 45 years, David. I think I can handle talking to fellow educators about my methods. If you say so, just don't overdo it. I hang up without saying goodbye. Something I have never done before. But I am tired of being treated like a child who cannot make her own decisions about her own capabilities. Thursday morning arrives crisp and clear. I dress carefully in my best navy suit, the one I wore to receive my Teacher of the Year awards. I pin a small silver apple brooch to my lapel, a gift from students for my retirement. My silver hair is styled professionally, and I wear just enough makeup to look polished. The taxi driver who takes me to the college is a young man who helps me with the car door and carries my presentation materials without being asked. Big event today? He asks, as we drive through campus. I am speaking at an education symposium. About teaching methods. That is fantastic. Are you a professor? I was a high school mathematics teacher for 45 years. Wow, that is amazing. I bet you have some great stories. His genuine interest and respect warm me more than any family interaction has in months. Here is a stranger who sees value in my experience, who recognizes that 4.5 decades of teaching represents something worth celebrating. The college's conference center buzzes with activity. Educators from across the region have gathered to share ideas and learn from each other. I am greeted by Professor Walsh, who escorts me to the speaker's area with obvious pride. Mrs. Moreland, I cannot tell you how excited we are to have you here. Your reputation in mathematics education is legendary. That is very kind of you to say. It is not kindness, it is fact. I have read all your papers on making calculus accessible to struggling students. Your methods have influenced how I teach my own classes. The presentation goes better than I could have hoped. The auditorium is packed with teachers, administrators, and graduate students. When I begin speaking about my approach to helping students who had been written off by other teachers, the audience leans forward with genuine interest. I tell them about Maria Santos, who came to me convinced she was too stupid for math and graduated with a full scholarship to study engineering. About James Robertson, who spent 2 years in my after-school tutoring program and is now a mathematics professor himself. About hundreds of students who discovered they were capable of far more than anyone had ever expected. The questions after my presentation are thoughtful and engaged. A young teacher asks about adapting my methods for students with learning disabilities. A principal wants to know how to support teachers implementing similar approaches. A graduate student writing her dissertation on inclusive mathematics education asks for my thoughts on recent research. For 90 minutes, I am not David's elderly mother or Rachel's obligation. I am Dr. Ruth Moreland, educator and expert, sharing knowledge that matters with people who understand its value. The reception afterward is everything family gatherings are not. Colleagues approach me with genuine enthusiasm, sharing stories of their own teaching experiences and asking for advice. Several professors invite me to visit their classrooms. A publisher inquires about whether I would be interested in writing about my methods. Your presentation was inspiring, says Dr. Patricia Chen, the Dean of Education. We would love to have you back as a guest lecturer in our teacher preparation program. I would be honored, I reply, meaning it completely. As the event winds down, I feel more energized and valued than I have in years. This is what respect feels like. This is how people treat someone whose knowledge and experience matter to them. That evening, David calls again. How did your little teaching thing go? He asks, making it sound like a hobby rather than a professional presentation. Very well. The audience was engaged, and several professors invited me to guest lecture in their programs. That is nice, Mom. Listen. Rachel wants to have you over for dinner next week to make up for the party ending badly. I pause, considering my response carefully. I don't think so, David. Why not? She is trying to be nice. I don't believe Rachel sees what happened at the party as wrong. Neither do you. You both see it as my fault for not taking a joke well enough. Here we go again, Mom. You cannot hold grudges forever. I am not holding a grudge. I am making a choice about how I want to spend my remaining years. What is that supposed to mean? It means I am done pretending that being humiliated and disrespected is normal family behavior. I am done accepting treatment that I would never tolerate from strangers. David's voice sharpens with irritation. So what? You are cutting us off? Giving up on your family? I am setting boundaries. If you want to visit me and treat me with respect, you are always welcome, but I will not continue to attend gatherings where I am seen as entertainment or a burden. That is ridiculous. We don't see you as a burden, don't you? When was the last time you asked my opinion about something that mattered? When did you last show interest in my work or achievements? When have you ever introduced me as someone you are proud of, rather than someone you have to take care of? Silence stretches across the phone line. Finally, David speaks, his voice tight with familiar defensiveness. We care about you, Mom. We worry about your safety and health. You worry about your responsibility. There is a difference. Fine. Have it your way. But don't blame us when you are sitting alone in that house with no family around. I would rather be alone with my dignity intact than surrounded by people who see me as a joke. David hangs up without saying goodbye. I sit in my favorite chair, feeling a complex mixture of sadness and relief. The sadness comes from acknowledging that my relationship with my son may never be what I hoped. The relief comes from finally speaking the truth I have been avoiding for years. Over the next few weeks, my phone is notably quiet. No calls from David, no invitations from Rachel, no Sunday visits or check-ins. Part of me wonders if I have made a terrible mistake. If being right is worth being isolated from the only family I have left. But then a letter arrives from one of the teachers who attended my symposium. She has implemented my teaching methods in her classroom and wants to share the results. 3 students who were failing mathematics are now passing. A girl who thought she wasn't a math person has asked about advanced placement calculus. The teacher credits my presentation with changing her approach to struggling students. Similar letters arrive throughout the month. Teachers sharing success stories, administrators requesting my consulting services, former students who have heard about my return to public speaking and want to reconnect. I realize that I haven't lost my family. I have remembered my true calling. One Tuesday morning, my doorbell rings. Through the window, I see a familiar small figure standing on my front porch, Tommy, holding what appears to be a hand-drawn card. I open the door to find my great-grandson looking uncharacteristically serious for a 5-year-old. Hi, great. Grandma Ruth, I made you something. He hands me a construction paper card decorated with crayon drawings of stick figures around a pool. One figure, clearly meant to be me based on the careful inclusion of a walking stick, stands apart from the others who are smiling. The card reads, "I am sorry," in careful kindergarten letters. Tommy, this is beautiful. But you don't need to apologize to me. Daddy said I do. He said I should say sorry for helping you in the pool because it made the grown-ups look bad. My heart clenches. Tommy, look at me. You did nothing wrong. You were kind and helpful when I needed help. That is exactly what you should have done. His face brightens with relief. Really? Really? You were the bravest person at that party, Daddy said. I embarrassed him. Sometimes doing the right thing embarrasses people who aren't doing the right thing. That is not your fault. We sit on my front porch steps, sharing a snack and talking about kindergarten, his favorite toys, and his dreams of becoming a firefighter so he can help people. This child, barely old enough for school, has more natural empathy and moral courage than the adults who raised him. When his mother's car pulls up 20 minutes later, Tommy hugs me goodbye. I love you. Great, Grandma Ruth. I hope your ears get better soon. Rachel approaches hesitantly, clearly uncomfortable. Mom Moreland, I hope it is okay that Tommy wanted to visit. He has been asking about you. It is perfectly fine. He is welcome here any time. About the party, Rachel begins, then stops. David said you were upset. I was hurt, Rachel. There is a difference. She nods uncertainly. Maybe we could have coffee sometime. Just the two of us. I would like that, I reply, meaning it. Rachel has always been influenced by her father's attitudes. But there is hope for her yet. She is young enough to learn that respect isn't contingent on convenience. That evening, I receive an email from the publisher who attended my symposium. They are interested in commissioning a book about my teaching methods, specifically focusing on reaching students who struggle with mathematics. The advance they are offering is generous, and the timeline is flexible enough to accommodate my age and energy levels. I accept their offer immediately. 6 months later, I am putting the finishing touches on Every Student Can Succeed. 4 decades of making mathematics accessible. The writing process has been challenging but rewarding, forcing me to articulate teaching philosophies I have always operated on instinctively. David calls occasionally, brief conversations that stick to safe topics like the weather and my health. He mentions family gatherings I am not invited to, apparently hoping I will ask to be included. I don't. Rachel has visited twice for coffee, stilted conversations where we both avoid mentioning the pool incident or my absence from family events. But Tommy visits regularly. His mother drops him off every other Saturday afternoon, and we spend hours together, reading, talking, and playing simple games. He is learning addition and subtraction now, and I am teaching him to see patterns in numbers. His natural curiosity reminds me why I became a teacher in the first place. My book is published to positive reviews in educational journals. I am invited to speak at conferences, consult with school districts, and mentor new teachers. At 73, I am busier and more professionally fulfilled than I have been since retirement. The contrast with my family relationships is stark, but no longer painful. I have learned to find my worth in places where it is genuinely valued, among people who see my knowledge and experience as gifts rather than burdens. One warm spring afternoon, as I am working in my garden, I see David's car pull into my driveway. He gets out slowly, looking older than his 55 years. There is something different about his posture. Less aggressive, more uncertain. Hi, Mom. Hello, David. He stands at the edge of my flower bed, hands in his pockets, clearly struggling with what to say. Your book got a good review in the Times. Yes, I saw that. I read it, the book. I mean, this surprises me. Did you? Yeah. He pauses, looking around my garden rather than at me. I didn't realize how much you would accomplished. In your career, I mean, all those students you helped. I tried to make a difference. You did. I can see that now. He finally meets my eyes. I think maybe I never understood what you did, what it meant. I set down my gardening trowel and brushed soil from my hands. No, you didn't. I was wrong. About the pool thing. About treating you like you were just my elderly mother, instead of someone who had her own important life. It is not quite an apology, but it is closer than I expected to get. Yes, you were wrong. I don't know how to fix this, Mom. Start by seeing me as a person worth respecting, instead of a problem to be managed. He nods slowly. Can I try again, being a better son? You can try. David visits more regularly after that, and gradually our conversations deepen beyond surface pleasantries. He asks about my book, my speaking engagements, my memories of teaching. He even admits that he is proud of my achievements, something he has never been able to say before. Rachel follows her father's lead, becoming more genuinely interested in my life and work. She brings Tommy for longer visits, and asks thoughtful questions about my career and experiences. But the real victory isn't in their changed behavior toward me. It is in my changed expectations of myself. I no longer need their approval to feel valuable. I no longer accept disrespect to maintain relationships. I have learned that dignity isn't something other people give you. It is something you claim and protect for yourself. At 73, I have discovered that it is never too late to insist on being treated with the respect you have earned. It is never too late to surround yourself with people who see your worth, and it is never too late to remember that your value doesn't decrease just because others fail to recognize it. Some lessons take a lifetime to learn. Some teachers don't realize they are still learning until they are forced to stand up for themselves. But the most important education I ever received wasn't in a classroom. It was in a swimming pool where I learned that accepting humiliation isn't family loyalty. It is self-betrayal. Now I teach that lesson to anyone willing to listen. Respect isn't a privilege, it is a right, and it is never too late to claim it. What did you think of Ruth's transformation? Have you ever had to set boundaries with family who didn't respect you? Share your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one, and if this story resonated with you, check out our other videos about finding your worth and standing up for yourself. Don't forget to subscribe to her light for more inspiring stories of people who chose dignity over convenience. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is refuse to accept less than you deserve.